Welcome to Never Too Serious with Scott and Dave. I'm Scott.
And I'm Dave.
We got the first story here from Florida. They always have some good stuff.
We could do one just on what happened in Florida on a daily.
Yes, we could. Yes, we could. This one, a Florida man arrested in jail parking lot minutes after being released.
Back to work.
Back to work, exactly.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the article says that he was arrested for breaking into cars, and then when he was released from jail, the officers found him checking doors and sitting in cars. And when they finally arrested him, he actually had stuff.
Yeah. Do you have a list of what was in his paper bag?
I think
it was like 4 packs of cigarettes. He grabbed there was some cash. He grabbed a credit card. I mean, he went to work and was successful in no time at all.
In no time at all, yeah. I mean, a new phone.
Yeah, that's right. iPhone 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hilarious. And that's the kind of stupidity. You know?
And obviously it's a skill. I mean, he's good at it. I mean, what can he do to use that skill for the good? What could he do? Invent better ways of, locking doors. He should be able to come up with something like how to keep himself out of vehicles. I
don't know if he keeps getting caught. Is he really good at his job,
or we just don't lock our doors?
That's probably it.
It's that easy.
Well, if you think you're going to be safe, you'd think you'd be safe at the jail parking lot. I mean, who's ballsy enough to rob you from a jail parking lot?
Without disclosing where I work, I only recently started locking my doors where I work. I mean, I drive on a campus that has fenced and security at the gates and
camera systems.
Yeah. But I did leave it open, but I'm like, I don't think so. No. I'm just going to lock it because I don't know if I trust anybody,
Yeah. I park kind of off in the distance because I don't want my doors dinged, but there's still people who go, oh, that's kind of way out there. As long as it's out of sight, I mean,
that's right.
Someone might just hop in there and do their worst. I mean, right. I did, that happened to me when I was a kid, and that was way back when I had CDs, and they ripped off my stereo, took all my CD stuff. I had an old wallet, a very distinct wallet from my grandpa. It was an elk wallet, like hairy. In hindsight, it's a pretty disgusting wallet.
Yeah, but it wore off.
But I had that in my glove compartment, and I didn't really have anything in it. I think I might have had some pictures and stuff, but this was in the days where I wasn't going to have that in my pocket all the time. Right. And some folks called me from, I think it was like an old Food for Less shopping center, and they said, "Hey, this is," they called my dad because my dad shopped there all the time, and they knew who he was. And knew his last name, and they found this wallet from the same last name, and they, had me go out there and pick up my stuff. And
really,
yeah, I was pissed.
I'm sure I heard about it. I just don't recall it.
Yeah, this was way back in, I want to say like 98.
Oh, I remember the wallet.
Maybe 96 or 97.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Those dang criminals. I hate them.
I know. I had gotten really good at. I've locked my keys in my car several times, and I've gotten really good at breaking in to, save a buck,
Uh-huh.
And I actually started breaking into other people's cars for it, help them out. I got really good. Like I got some skills out of it. Mm-hmm. I was in a McDonald's parking lot breaking into my own car, and a cop pulls up, and I'm like, with a wire that I kept underneath because I did it so often going in. I was driving for a living, going in and out of my car, and I always messed up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't look good. I go, and I just said, trust me, it's my car. I just locked my keys in it. And he goes, oh, okay. I'm like, what? So my point with what I'm, getting around to, you parking way out there, somebody could be out there, just lock my keys in the car. And I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no big deal. Yeah. Well, now the new Teslas have cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
And so they'll actually have them recorded. I don't know, what do they call it? Sentry mode, maybe? And it has a little sign like on the computer screen in the car saying something about, you're on camera or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, they need that because
well, and I'm sure that the Tesla people can see that kind of stuff. So.
Well, think of how many people like this guy is out there. and how many people
Oh,
leave
yeah.
their stuff unlocked. But like you said, maybe they just maybe he just scored big time because it was in a police parking lot.
Yeah,
Everybody just
people thought it was safe.
that might be something there. Maybe he's no good at it at all. He was in jail.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and they increased the bond and then released him again. So who knows what else he's doing?
Did they at least walk him out of the the parking lot?
Escort him to the next parking lot.
Yeah, bus him to the next city at least.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's pretty good. And the gonads on that guy to do or stupidity. I don't know how it goes anymore.
Yeah, another headline: Georgia man steals mortuary van and dead body rolls out ahead of a police chase. Oh man. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about that. I'm just trying to put myself in the place of that. Try not to be the car that has to avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just really dumb criminals. It drives me crazy. The worst thing is we're living now in an environment where a lot of these criminals are not getting prosecuted.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They just get away with their stupidity.
That's right. They do.
I've had some issues with some homeless people, somewhat this year, and I've had to kind of chase them off property, and in many cases they're polite and they pack up their stuff and go. And I've had a couple of situations where they're not polite and they're very angry. In fact, in one case, a guy swung at me with his walking stick, and it's like thick, similar to like a baseball bat, and police, of course, won't come and support you unless they've, actually assaulted you. And swinging doesn't count, evidently.
All you do, and in that situation, just grab the collar of your shirt and just yell, "Move in now! Move in now!" Chances are they're on the end of their trip anyways, and they're going to freak out.
Yeah. Recently, we had a guy sleeping in the dumpster.
Oh.
Yeah, outside our building, and
in the summer too.
That's
a treat.
Mostly filled with garbage and stuff, and evidently it was a comfortable place to catch a nap. And so we ended up calling the police to come out, and eventually they made it out and asked the guy to leave. It was funny because the police told him that he needed to clean up his mess first before he left. It was fantastic.
Oh, finally a good police story. I like that. That's good.
Yeah,
good.
But you could tell this guy was mouthing off to the cops a lot, and they let him go, of course. But it's trespassing, But they're not gonna prosecute anything like that.
What's the point?
Yeah. There's a video from Ted Cruz. He's in some sort of like judicial committee, and they're talking about nominating someone into a position, and he makes such an incredible how would I say realization for people about how these people are, what their past has been
and what their intentions are.
Yeah, their record. And what their intentions are, because in many of these cases, these folks get nominated and they don't, nothing shows up until someone really starts digging. They seem to be, they're successful. They've gone through all these different ranks. And then there's the Ted Cruzes of the world who dig and find this stuff, and it's quite enlightening because it shows people really what the person is.
It brings light to what's going on in this world, and what you're talking about, all the ease of everybody getting in and out of jail. Mm-hmm. I mean, the first issue, the guy that got out of jail just to do it again, just to get right back out of jail.
Yeah,
I'm sure I can't say anything. I don't know. I could imagine he's got a rap sheet. Imagine that's not the first time.
Yeah.
Or third time, whatever. That was a couple times right in one. So
within a very short period of time.
But I like what you were saying. I like that he breaks it down to even. I'll just use myself, so people like myself could understand completely, black and white. Let me tell you what these people are about, because our good people on the left may not understand maybe why their side are doing certain things that it might be confusing, and they don't know the depth of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, thank goodness for the few senators we have that are willing to work for their money. And this is also to our topic, it is dark, maybe, but humorous.
Mm-hmm.
That they think that they could get away with this because this is written down. So this is worth a listen.
Okay, so I'm gonna hit play, and Ted Cruz is basically he's talking to this lady about, or talking to the committee about nominating this lady, and brings this I think pretty damning information to the table. Here we go.
Prosecutors, you no longer prosecute crimes. We're not in the crime business anymore. In other words, we, the government, almost always, and in fact, I'll take out the almost, always Democrats, say given a choice between a violent criminal and an innocent citizen, we, the Democrats, choose the violent criminal. You may say, surely that is hyperbole. No one would be crazy for someone who meets that description to be the U.S. attorney. Well, let's look at her record. First of all, Ms. Rollins, in February, she was very candid that she came into the job of DA as a crusader. Here's what she said, quote, "If you want to change the criminal legal system, become a prosecutor." Why? She explains why. Because you have, quote, "the power to determine charges and what crimes to decline to prosecute."
Isn't that something?
It's huge.
It's really huge. You think about the consequences of someone breaking the law. If there's no prosecution, if the prosecutor is not going to prosecute your particular crime, what's the incentive to stop doing the crime? Might as well keep going.
Well, that's the point of, I can't remember cities, but in California, I don't know what the word is. They didn't decriminalize, but people could steal up to like $900 before they have to face any serious, before it's a felony. And so people would go in and steal smaller, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But so I want to say small, but within that range to keep themselves out of jail. Mm-hmm. It's just going to enable somebody else to do it when they come back. Go, yeah, they didn't do nothing. Well, guess what? 10 more people are going to go out. Yeah. It's insanity to me.
There's so many of these cities that are run by the folks on the left, the Democrats. I mean, Portland's a good example. I mean, really all of Oregon is pretty much that way. But there are so many people who are going into these stores now, and they just take stuff and go. I've heard recently in different places in the Portland area where someone would go in, and they'd come out with shopping carts loaded with stuff, and it's obvious they're stealing it, and they just load up, off they go, put it in their car, and see ya. And no one from the store does anything about it.
Right.
And they just let them go.
Well, they could write it off too. So
well, and they'll call the police and do a police report. But if they're not prosecuted, and I mean, number one, if something doesn't happen to them during the act, then it gives a message to all these other people that you can do that without consequences. Now, if they get license plates and other things, sure, you can follow up and catch them later. But then if you don't prosecute them, what's the incentive not to do it?
They're not going to waste the money on it. And there's a pool of money to be utilized for these services.
There was a guy in San Francisco. I was listening to one of those morning radio shows, and they were talking about this group of people basically took off, stole a bunch of stuff. The guy comes out with his phone, and he says, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Are you stealing this stuff?" And he just starts talking to him. And, of course, they start harassing the guy who's confronting them. And he just made the comment that, you know what? Because they said, this is none of your business. Why do you care? Well, this is my community, and I really don't want to live in a community where this thing is allowed.
Right.
Which is a fantastic point.
Right. But, and is that so wrong? Yeah. I could be sympathetic to homeless people, and then I don't know the exact terminology, but I call them panhandlers, and there's a difference between professional panhandlers. I don't know what to call them, but there's those people that sit out there on the side of the road. But anyways, regardless, I don't like all the homelessness. I don't like the disaster that they make, garbage everywhere because they don't clean up. My tax money, if it's ever going to get cleaned up, it's going to be my tax dollars to do it. And so incentive or not, that's fine. I don't care because, I wanted to be in a place that's getting better, not going backwards.
Yeah.
And so shame me fine for, wanting to, move forward with progression, or to make it better for our kids.
Well, and I always wonder, is it really that safe to be the guy confronting people?
No, you don't.
Because you never know what they're going to do in response to someone confronting them. And you don't know if they're carrying something.
That's right.
So what would be the point? Well, I mean, the guy in this case makes the point that, I don't want this stuff in my neighborhood.
But it just sucks because we need more people like that. He just shouldn't have been out there on his own.
Yeah.
There used to be a time, I doubt it's really, I can't say I doubt, I don't know if like the neighborhood watch is still going on.
Mm-hmm. I think
it used to be a big deal to where people in the community would always every night, maybe as, friends, just walk the streets and check out things and be noticed.
Mm-hmm.
And it made a difference, but I guess I've never heard it or ever seen a flyer about it or.
Yeah, there are some neighborhood watch organizations, and they provide a certain amount of information to organize your neighborhood, but it requires your neighbors' efforts.
Right.
Right.
You can't send one guy out there. Then you're going to have a.
Yeah, what was that guy?
Zimmerman.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a terrible situation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that stuff can turn bad.
Yep.
All right, I'll continue the video here. Ted Cruz.
So that's what Ms. Rollins tells you matters about a prosecutor, the power to say, I won't prosecute these crimes. Surely she exercised it with reason and restraint. That's
she
what
did.
Our Democratic colleagues on this committee are suggesting.
Of course.
Right.
Well, let's look in writing, and I will say this document, it is entitled Appendix C.
Okay, this is the interesting part because it's all very kind of hidden, and this is what I hate about politicians, that they just kind of hide stuff in their legalese. It's not terribly obvious to the everyday person.
But what's bad is they're actually admitting to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really there. You just got to read it and know it. And how's the average Joe going to know that stuff?
They're not.
And it's one of those things that, well, shame on you for, that's your due diligence, but be realistic. Senator Cruz had to dig this stuff up.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's really unfair to not to make us like snowflakes, but it's unfair to the civilians, or not the term I want to call us, but anyways, the population that we don't get to hear this, or it's not posted in an easy place to look when we're ready to make these decisions.
This should be a much more politicized, or not politicized, but publicized.
And with our technology today, having folders and files of all this stuff and easy to look it up and
I mean, there aren't too many normal
.org.
Not too many. Yeah, there's not too many people who just sit back and watch C-SPAN all day. Right. This particular video is coming from Forbes, and I think they've done a pretty good job here. Here we go.
CDAO, Declination and Diversion Policy. Boy, what an incredibly boring title. Designed to mask a horrific policy.
That's true.
I would encourage anyone, look, if you're watching this at home, and let's assume you have political leanings. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat. If you're a Republican, you're inclined to believe the Republicans on this. If you're a Democrat, you're inclined to believe the Democrats on this. Let me suggest something to you. Go read this document. I'll tweet out this document. Just read it. Read it yourself and then ask who's telling the truth.
Please.
Mm-hmm.
Because for all the Democrats saying, no, what do you mean she won't prosecute crimes? Let me read from the document she prepared.
She prepared.
Yeah.
Charges on the list of 15 should be declined or dismissed pre-arraignment, so even before the proceedings start, without conditions. So we're not going to put any conditions on it. No matter what, just throw it out. We don't want to see these cases. And in fact, the next sentence says the presumption is the charges that fall into this category should always be denied. Always.
These are key
So
words.
no wiggle room of,
may,
just in
always.
some cases. Always is what she wrote, even when attached to another charge.
Even when it's attached.
These people just don't want to work at all.
It's like
I don't want to see anybody on my list today. Nobody.
How many different charges could there exist? With like a law-abiding citizen. Well, not too many, but if they're a criminal and they've got a whole slew of things that they're doing at the same time, They can just ignore this one, ignore that one. That's not that big of a deal. You just go free.
Right.
Oh, yeah, by the way, lock your car because he's going to go.
Yeah. It was like, which way did you vote? Oh, all right. Yeah, we got time for this one.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. The politics
if
of
they
this.
make it that easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't get the motivation behind this. Maybe Ted Cruz will explain that one.
So if you have a multiple criminal, we just throw out these crimes. Basically, this is the prosecutor saying, I'm the legislature. Those pesky elected legislators that actually voted on the criminal code, I don't care what they say. I am erasing these crimes from the criminal code. Okay, let's see. Listen, there's some dumb laws. You know, maybe what she's erasing, I'll tell you, in Texas, it is still, I believe, a crime. Senator Cornyn may be able to confirm it, to carry wire cutters in your pocket unless they protrude 3 inches or more.
Yep.
Now, that actually goes back to the days of cattle rustling. You had a prosecutor who says, all right, we're not going to have an aggressive wire cutter in the pocket carrying prosecution unit. I'd be good with that. So maybe the categories of crimes that she says are no longer crimes in my jurisdiction, maybe they're that kind of thing, the stupid things.
No.
I doubt it, but isn't that funny? We did a podcast early on, and we talked about stupid laws that still exist, and there are tons of those stupid laws, and it's like, okay, I guess I could look at it from the perspective of, you know what? Yeah, like the cattle rustling thing doesn't really happen anymore. You don't have to have the wire cutter law anymore.
If I was a cop, I'm going to interrupt you. If I was a cop, I have my personal bucket list of getting all those people on something. So if I'm walking down, I see anybody with that, I'm busting. What the heck you talk about? Take it to the judge. The judge might dismiss it, but I'm going to bucket list and I'm going to get all these people as best I can.
There should be a point system.
Right. Yeah. A personal.
Yeah. But I think in those cases, if that law still exists, why don't we have lawmakers like remove that law? We don't need that stuff on the books anymore? If it's
you've
not
always
relevant,
heard that you never get your rights back. It's always taken away.
Always taken.
So why would they might need that there later. They might, like my stupid thing I just said, they might need to utilize that. You know, I don't.
Yeah, maybe we'll go back to those days where those things were relevant.
Well, more laws is better than less laws.
You think so?
No, I'm just saying that's apparently what they think.
That's what they're saying.
That's all they do is just keep them in the file.
Yep, that's right.
Add to it.
All right, here we go.
Well, let's start. What's the first one on the list? Trespass. Okay, I want everyone to think about this. And by the way, what's interesting is this is not just in red states. I want the people of Delaware to think about this. People of Connecticut, the people of Hawaii, the people of California or Georgia. Do you want laws against trespass enforced in your community? Well, according to this individual that the Democrats want to make the top federal prosecutor in the state of Massachusetts, trespass is no longer against the law. Someone comes into your house, onto your property.
Awesome.
No biggie. Ain't a crime anymore.
And that drives me crazy because trespass is like a normal thing. It's everywhere, especially like in our area when there's all these different protests. There's trespass all the time. But if you enforce those laws, well, you don't get the same activist behavior anymore.
Right.
Right?
I have issue too, because out here, I'm a little bit particular about my land and where people are on and my responsibility when somebody is on it. And I have a place in front of my property. And when I'm putting it in there is mainly for me and in thought of somebody like my mom who happens to pull a huge 30-foot horse trailer. And if there's a place for her that needs to pull off. And I understand if there's an emergency, but it's not a place for cops to sit to bust people. It's not a place for people to loiter. We have a couple cars that gets dumped there, so and it's not a place for a company to utilize a drop-off exchange package area.
Yeah, no drug deals out in the front of your property.
That either, but like example is yesterday, like we had Amazon, and they were out there for almost 15 minutes out there parking and on my property, and if they do something jacked up, I have potential to be liable for what's going on. And plus, I'm about to leave and they've, how long are you guys going to be out there? And I just don't want it to be a habit of a place that, oh, hey, we could just go off that one place because it also deteriorates my area.
Yeah.
You know, I have to pay for the gravel and all that.
Yeah. Well, you and I used to be couriers, and on our routes, there was always a spot that was like our spot. You'd sit, you'd have your food, or you'd reorganize whatever your route stuff was. There was always those spaces. Yeah, you don't want the same thing on your property.
Right. And so, example, offshoot here is to prove my point is when we were building out here, the builders had, because they'd be here for a while, had to put a porta potty out here. Well, we had a lot of packages delivered. These people without packages started, well, they asked, can we use it? They did ask. When they found out they could, whether a package or not, they just knew there was a potty spot now. And they were using it all the time. And so my point is he gets hurt on the potty here. It's all my responsibility, but so it is petty, but I just have to say in my mind, no. If it's emergency or broke down, absolutely. How can I help? You know, but you know, so I had to actually ask one of them to leave, ask them to leave, and one guy was so nice, no problem, I'm sorry, no, okay, and they left, and the other guy just sat there. And so I had to get out and stand up and go, so is there an issue? He's like, well, I'm doing something. I was super duper nice. I essentially just said, well, you know where you're at. Well, this is my place and I'm responsible and I'm just not going to move until you leave. I'm just going to stand right here. And he goes, okay, well, I'm just going to put this down and leave then. I go, that sounds fantastic. And they left. And then you know what he did? He drove in front of my neighbor's parking spot, driveway, and blocked it.
Well, at least your neighbor gets to deal with it.
You know, it just sucks because I like to be helpful, but I know things become habitual and people take advantage, just like the porta potty situation, you know, and we try to be accommodating, but then next thing you know, it's not going to be there for us when we need it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's like, I just don't like the idea that they just take advantage of it after they...
I know it.
You know, the first time and suddenly it's okay forever. No,
that's why I have to nip it in the bud right away. And I know it makes me a jerk, but I hate being the guy that has to sit there and let it get really bad because then I won't be able to approach it nice like I was, believe it or not. But anyways, it's a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal, and allowing this and the other things before allows potential other issues to arise that could become violent. I don't want, you think I am, I love my guns, I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm glad we have it. But that's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to even shoot an animal. I don't want to shoot anything, but, targets and stuff. But, I am prepared to have to, but that is not ever, that's not on the bucket list.
No, you don't want to do that.
Ever.
No.
So I wish that's why a lot of these laws are in place, to extinguish potential, worser crime.
Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna finish going through Ted Cruz's list because it's a good
worth
size
hearing,
list.
and I wish more people could hear it. So that's why I'm glad it's here and we're talking about it.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back.
All right, great.
Dave and I appreciate you listening to the show. Please take a moment and write a review on Apple Podcast or Podchaser.com. And since Spotify doesn't currently have reviews, simply telling your friends about the show would be great too. Also, you can always reach out to us at our website, nevertooserious.com, or via our socials at the NTS Podcast. And seriously, from the bottom of our hearts, thanks again for listening to the show. All right, we are back. So we're talking about Ted Cruz and all of these different things that the prosecutor is refusing to prosecute. Right. There's a big old list here. Yeah. He's already gone over trespassing because it's not that big of a deal.
Oh, he's just getting warmed up.
Here we go with the rest of the list.
All right, what else isn't a crime? Shoplifting. All of us have seen the videos, I think exclusively in democratic cities, of shoplifters brazenly breaking into stores and stealing and running out. And why do they do it? They do it, for example, in San Francisco, because you have a prosecutor there who won't prosecute them. So you know what? Hey, I like stores where the price of everything is zero. That'd be a pretty amazing thing. Not very good for the stores, not very good for the community. But this prosecutor says there is no shoplifting. Now, if you want to steal a bunch of stuff, this is your person. If you're actually a small business owner, if you'd like to not have it open season on people breaking into your store and stealing everything in it, that might concern you. What else? Larceny. Larceny is not a crime. Remember that she said these should always be declined to be prosecuted. Larceny's on the list.
Yeah.
What else is on the list? Disorderly conduct disturbing the police. So let me ask you, and the amazing thing is, even in blue states, in Minnesota, I promise you there are a lot of moms that are not eager to discover that if someone is drunk and screaming and trespassing on their front lawn and urinating and defecating on their front lawn in front of their children and cursing at their kids, that, hey, according to the Democrats, not a crime, won't be prosecuted, and by the way, when that person comes back to your front lawn tomorrow and does it again, it's not a crime tomorrow either. Remember, always decline to prosecute.
And that literally, that phrase of possible things that happen literally happens every day.
It's so common.
Literally what's going on in several cities.
Yeah.
I don't know how many in California, just as an example.
Oh, it's happening a lot in Portland. Drive through Portland and you can see it happening in broad daylight.
Yeah.
And nothing's happening.
Yep. And it's just going to get worse. Hello.
Well, this is the reason why Portland has gone down the tubes so much. It used to be an incredibly beautiful city, and it looks like a third world out there. All wonderful. The garbage, all the tent cities.
We had some wonderful statues. And
we used to, exactly.
We used to have windows in shops. Now there's probably still just plywood.
And that's right, very expensive plywood too.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. But this is the reason why this stuff continues to happen, because they're not getting prosecuted.
Right.
They just kind of get moved around. In some cases, now the different cities are creating in what they would consider like public spaces. In particular, like with Portland, there's a bus stop that is like a big parking lot that's been somewhat unused. They're converting that parking lot into a little homeless encampment, and they're going to provide these small little buildings and let them, pick up, their stuff and move in.
And because we voted, those leaders in, that's what our tax money is paying for, instead of providing the right, we've talked about it before, the right help for the right people. I'll just sum it up that way instead of getting into it. It's going to grow. They're making it grow.
Folks can go back and look for our homeless podcast. I thought it was a very good podcast.
Yeah, I thought so too.
We talked a lot about homeless, and we found some solutions in there. I think some solutions, but government's not so good at implementing them. So
no.
Yeah, so go back, look through the archives and watch the old episode. Here we go with Ted Cruz.
So disorderly conduct is apparently not a crime. What else? Receiving stolen property. So it's good news. At least she's analytically complete. The shoplifters can steal everything in the store. They can take it to the fence, and the fence can then take everything in the store. If you believe that theft doesn't matter, that's a great idea. If you believe in actually enforcing the law,
crazy.
That's insane. What else is not a crime under the lawless administration of this supposed district attorney? Driving with a suspended license.
Oh, this one kills me.
That sounds pretty mild. I mean, a suspended license, that's a technical thing, right? What's the most common area typically where people lose their license? For driving drunk.
So this gets to me, because I got a relatively new driver. Producer E, unfortunately, is not here today because he's driving. He does some things on the weekends, and he puts on, I think it's a couple hundred miles on his rig on some of these days. And this is the side that makes me nervous, because if folks who are drinking and driving don't get prosecuted, and I mean like seriously prosecuted, it really doesn't incentivize them to stop doing what they're doing. They're just going to continue on drinking and driving.
Right.
And when you are a drunk driver, you're not using your faculties. It's hard enough to pay attention as it is, let alone if you're, half schnockered. But, I worry about my kid.
Right. Well, and then you have the illegal drivers, because I was in a situation one time and was coming back from shooting trip, and I had picked up my daughter, and she was still in a baby seat.
Mm-hmm.
And so just little. I can't remember how old, 3 or 4 or something. And heading to drop my buddy off, and she had to stay at grandma's because she wasn't going to be up there around the bangs. But anyways, was dropping my buddy off, and on our way, we're driving down a road. And at night, you could park on the side of the road, so there's no shoulders, And I go, oh my gosh, the headlights look like it's kind of in my lane. And my buddy's like, yeah, it kind of does. And they're like, okay, I mean, a couple seconds, I'm like, dude, that's totally in my lane. And out of this whole line of cars, there's like one spot that's barely, and I had my rig was a Land Rover Defender, so it's kind of short. And I literally swung in and stopped. It wasn't even a good park, just in, out of the way. And this van flew right past me and hit the car behind me head on.
No.
And everything just got destroyed. And my daughter's in the back. I pulled my rig around. I go to my buddy, I gotta be here. And he goes, yeah. He's like, his handle's already on the door handle. He's like, yeah. Some people like, okay, take me home, man. Well, we're not those people. We have to go help, and
sure.
And so we get out knowing my daughter's in there, so I'm keeping an eye on my daughter, but this guy happens to be drunk and illegal. And
probably no insurance.
And the guy, I go, Andy, I got this guy. You go get the guy, because the other guy wasn't moving in the car. And I go to this guy, and he's laughing. And I tell you, I mean, nobody's looking. I have a lot of built up, from anything I ever want to take it out of. And this guy literally, especially my vehicle I was in, we wouldn't have been in a good way. There's no safety measures on that rig. And then he's laughing. I don't care his state of mind, being drunk. I didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And I so badly wanted to hurt him so bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I didn't. And so it took a lot of me to do it. And especially my daughter's there. And so people have started coming and calling. And I reached in, ripped his keys out, because he could have just started if it ran, I don't know. But he could have just drove off. But anyways, my point is, hey, I will say this part though. I was pissed at how bad he was laughing about it, especially because he could look back and see the guy that was hurt and he was laughing. And when I said I could find it, or the cop said, you could get the hell out of here if you want. And I said, I just got a problem. This guy thinks this is funny to him. He goes, he won't think it's funny when we're done. So I was like, well,
that's nice.
Yes. Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how that other guy ended up. He had to go. He went to the hospital. I don't even think he was. I can't remember, anyways, if he was even conscious when we left.
Yeah.
But that could have been us.
Yeah.
And but anyways, it reminded me to tell the story of I had more situations, but that was like the scariest one of a split second luck. I had a place to go.
Yeah.
And, but how important that these laws remain and are utilized, or they
need to be prosecuted.
Yes. Because you don't think that guy did it again, or that wasn't his first time?
Yeah. I'm sure he's done it again. You don't, the type of people who keep repeating these things, there needs to be major consequences. I get that someone, being, under the influence, they might do something that they really wouldn't have done if they were sober, but there still has to be some consequences to that. And it's not just punish them for what they did, but it's got to be something that prevents them from doing it in the future.
Well, by comparison, okay? Because, again, I'm not heartless. I believe people could change, but I also know that people typically don't, right? To be fair. But comparing it to other countries, we are so light on crime. Because if any other third world country didn't want drinking and driving, whatever your gas pedal nub is, they're cutting it off. They're going to figure out a way where now you can't steal. If you steal, Well, good luck running outside with no digits. They're going to take your hands, you know? They take stuff, whether you agree with their laws, but they take their laws damn serious there.
I just want people, it doesn't matter who it is, I just want them to be prosecuted equally. Everyone's supposed to be equal under the law, and that's the way it should be.
From homeless to
our president.
To the president. I go top dog. Absolutely.
Yep. Everyone should have the same thing. But you know what? That's not the political system that we live in.
But Ted, wait. There's more.
There's more. Here's more.
Where do you get your license suspended when you drive drunk? So if driving with a suspended license is not a crime, then apparently it is open season for people who've had their license suspended because they're repeat drunks because they endanger the safety of innocent people, of children. They get in a car and drive, they get pulled over, you don't have a license. Hey, no problem, keep on driving. Let us know when you kill someone when you're drunk next time. What else is not a crime, according to this radical?
Radical.
B&E, which all of us who watch Law and Order knows that stands for breaking and entering, into a vacant property to sleep or escape the cold. Okay. That sounds kind of reasonable. All right, a vacant lot, it's cold.
You're going to leave them to determine if it's vacant, though. You know, that's the problem for this part, is you're going to let them to determine because they have an out. Oh, I thought it was vacant. No, thank you.
It's still private property. Come on.
Well, they're paving a path all the way to have an incident to where maybe a good person's going to get harmed. Just make it easy, and then don't worry about it. We're not going to really punish you that hard for that. Accidents do happen.
Yeah,
you were looking for shelter and food and his wife. You know, I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right.
And at the same time, we want to take away your guns and your rights too, though.
Yeah, you want to take away the ability to protect yourself when someone comes across your property.
Sorry, go ahead.
Here's the next phase of it.
Actually, on the list, you can understand the reasoning. If it's cold, you're breaking into a vacant lot. I mean, it's vacant. There's not anyone there to be hurt. You can understand that one. And at least she has the good sense to say it's got to be vacant.
Right.
Because that way no innocent people will be hurt, right? Well, what's the next one on the list? B&E into a non-vacant property to sleep or escape the cold. Well, what's a non-vacant property? Like, I don't know, your home? So apparently what she's saying is if it's cold outside, it is no longer a crime for somebody to break into your home, so they can trespass on your property. They can break into your home, they can commit larceny, and apparently sleep in your living room. I want each of you to imagine, look, there's an element of how would you answer one of your constituents if someone is doing this?
And then why not have
and the answer from the prosecutor is we will always dismiss the case.
And always dismiss the case.
Always. I keep saying it because it matters. These are key words.
And I'm a pretty big supporter of police. Not every single one of them is a good person, but in general, I'm supportive of what they do. The problem is that they can do their job in this situation, but the person is just going to come back and do it again because they know there's not going to be a prosecution.
Right. But after a while, because these people work hand in hand, and these people are going to go, well, and they know people by the name, district attorney by the name, and they're going to be, I'm not going to waste my time on this. They already know what why would they want to wrestle that crazy person over here and get him all his knees all bloodied up, to get him arrested, to take him in, knowing that it's for nothing. Why not just sit back and enjoy your cup of joe?
Yeah. What a waste of resources.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your city is deteriorating in the meantime.
Yeah.
What else won't she prosecute? Wanton or malicious destruction of property.
Oh my God! Here we go.
I don't know about you, but wanton and malicious are typically pretty bad. Ain't a crime under her. What else? You could say, well, at least none of these are violent, right? Well, breaking into a non-vacant property, that has the potential for violence. You know what else is not a crime? Threats. You can make a direct threat. You can threaten innocent people, you can threaten children, you can commit threats.
I think you should be
not a crime. What else is not a crime?
Actions that should matter.
Minor in possession of alcohol. Kids apparently drink like crazy guys, party when you got it. What else is not a crime? It's not just alcohol. Okay, you got kids with beer. All right, that's not the first time that's ever happened. Well, marijuana possession of marijuana paraphernalia. Okay, you've got some recreational pot. There's some jurisdictions that have legalized that. Understand that. Well, but it's just the users, right? It's the low-level guys. Nope. What's the next one they don't prosecute? Possession with intent to distribute.
Drug dealers, good to go.
I mean, these are, if you look at them, these are all very common things, very common crimes.
Right.
You know, especially even our area.
What are they going to fill these prisons up with? Because, you know, they have to have them filled.
I think of it in terms of like a parent. So a lot of this stuff, I want to teach my kids, you know, to be good people. But you can only do so much before the law comes into play and they start to learn their own lessons.
Right.
And if the law doesn't come into play, then what you're teaching your kids has no meat. It has no leverage.
Oh, right.
What would be the point of your kids to follow your rules?
They're just doing what culture says is the norm.
Yeah. Yeah, they grow up in a society where there's no consequences.
Right.
So dumb. Drives me crazy.
I feel like I wasted a lot of my time. But I'm the guy that would go to jail.
Uh-huh. Yeah. All right, here we go. More Ted Cruz.
So if you're a drug dealer, get yourself to Massachusetts. You know, it used to be that you had to pay off a prosecutor and have a corrupt prosecutor on the payroll to get out of jail. Now you've got someone who's just openly saying, drug dealers, come to Massachusetts. Because we don't prosecute people for possession with intent to distribute. And by the way, you might say, well, it's just marijuana. There are a lot of places that say marijuana is not too bad.
Oh, wait,
well, what's the next one on the list? Non-marijuana drug possession.
Well, what would that be?
So,
fentanyl?
Could be pot. Could be, I haven't studied the details of that crime, but I'm assuming non-marijuana drug possession includes heroin, includes crack, includes cocaine, includes fentanyl, PCP, LSD, all of those. Hey, if you got kids, a lot of us on this committee have kids. I don't know, I would be kind of dismayed by a prosecutor who says if there's a drug dealer in my kid's school with a backpack full of fentanyl selling it to other kids, we're not going to prosecute him. But apparently the Democrats on this committee are not dismayed. And by the way, on the question of do you support cops or not, the last one on this list is really incredibly revealing. Mm-hmm. Resisting arrest.
Oh, here we go.
Police officer goes, confronts someone who's violent. They're violent. They engage with them. They resist arrest. What's the prosecutor say? Man, it really stinks to be you. I'm sorry you chose to be a cop. But it's open season. Apparently, resisting arrest is now the standard way of interacting with the police in Massachusetts.
Yeah, nut shot him and run like hell.
Yeah. Nut shot him.
I mean, which people, that's not like
this is not advice. This is not
it's
advice.
Getting hit in the junk. Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you here? Go to Massachusetts. You probably could do that and the cop suffers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, come on. What world? What? This world.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
The current one we're in right now.
And it's growing so bad because there's places all throughout the whole United States that is just making this grow. It's radiating through and infiltrating our whole United States, and it's not the way to be. And I do believe the good people on our left sees that too. Mm-hmm. And it sucks, but you know what? It's time to swallow some pride and make it stop because we can.
Yeah.
Through the system that we have, what's left while we have it.
Yeah, we need to elect people into these positions that will actually enforce the law equally across the board. You know, there's a lot of movements lately trying to convince our population that we need to defund the police, that you know, black and brown and you know other minorities are systemically targeted by our justice system. We need to go in and make sure that it's equal across the board. We can't have people like this who are in charge of prosecuting and then getting to determine who they're going to prosecute. In this case, it's really bad because we're just not going to do it to anyone. I guess that's kind of equal across the board, no matter your race.
Right.
But it's certainly going to tear apart the fabric of our country.
Oh, yep. They're really good at that.
Really good at it.
Yep.
I'm floored by people getting into leadership positions that have a stance on criminal justice and, our laws, like this particular person.
But I wish we could get into why she has those particular ideas.
Well, he's already suggested.
It's disturbing because there's always more people, but that it's to break down our whole society.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know why people would want to really, really do that. I mean, unless they're all part of trying to rebuild. Oh, is this how they build back better?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, it's that far left side of the Democrat Party. And, there's some old Democrats who would disagree with this. We bring up Bill Maher. Well, I bring up Bill Maher because he keeps coming out as a old school Democrat, progressive, he calls himself, but he actually stands up against this very thing.
Right.
I can't remember how recent this thing was posted, but it might be possible that Bill Maher is going to have this sort of stuff on his show.
Oh, because
he would be against this. But there are so many of those, what do they call them, the Democrat Socialist Party or whoever they are?
Right, that's growing
the Bernie
huge.
Sanders,
yeah.
the AOCs. This is what they want.
Right, and unfortunately, but the rest of, let's just say, the next voting cycle,
mm-hmm.
it's the voters' responsibility. Okay, let's just say that you got duped this last time. Well, come on. If you don't, you got to do your due diligence though, and listen. You got to be listening. Mm-hmm. But it's all out there, and if it just gets worse, it's the voters. They're showing us which direction they're taking it,
mm-hmm.
and they're going to keep voting it in. They're going to have to own it themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope
it's literally like painting yourself in a corner. I mean, that whole point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope that this sort of thing gets out. More people are recognizing that how wrong this is. Now, there's going to be a section of the population who totally agrees with this thing and think, we should not have any laws and all this. Like, come on.
But I believe both sides of us would know that would be a small percentage of this. Yeah. But when nobody speaks out, mm-hmm. they think it's the larger side because that's the only thing that's speaking out.
Yeah.
So I think that something like this, and I get it, it's the mouthpiece so much.
Mm-hmm.
People hate Ted Cruz. People
mm-hmm.
love Ted Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
People hate Trump. People love Trump. I wish they'd get past that and do exactly what Ted said. Don't even listen to him. Just go read it
mm-hmm.
yourselves and just believe yourself. I mean, this is the truth from that lady,
mm-hmm.
and only then will it start, getting back to better. Because I know that they don't agree with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta have to want something better than this mess. I don't know.
Have you seen Ami Horowitz? He does some different bits. I think he's Daily Caller, did some stuff for Fox, but he does like the man on the street interviews.
Okay.
And he, talks to people about taxes and, asks them questions and then, gives them some statistics to kind of like blow their mind on how wrong their original thoughts were.
Right.
And he does it in, a tactful sort of way.
Sure.
I want to do a show where we kind of go over some of his different areas, his different topics, because this is a good example, like what Ted Cruz is doing, where he kind of just brings in, here's the evidence that it's actually happening. And Ami does a very similar thing. And you can see the reaction of the people who initially thought that it was a certain way.
Right. Listen to the information, not
mm-hmm.
the person that's giving it.
Yeah.
In other words, look it up yourself.
Yeah.
And don't vote on the mouthpiece, vote on the policies. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I did vote for Trump, but man, he had to earn my vote. I mean, in fact, I like Ted Cruz quite a bit, but I had to give in to my I guess my initial, I can't say dislike, I just didn't want him necessarily. So I had to put my ear on the track and listen and to see what's coming and to see what was best. And that's why I ended up voting for Trump. But, will I do it again? Likely, but I want something that's better. I want better. I want less chaos. I want
me
better.
too. I want less chaos as well.
I want progression. I want what am I saying? Trump did a lot of stuff, and shame on for everybody that got in his way, because we would have seen a lot of things actually happening if there weren't so many speed bumps.
Well, yeah, I mean, Russia and Ukraine,
right.
And all this conspiracy stuff, which is now there's news coming out that a lot of that stuff was actually from the Clinton campaign.
Right. And here's the fun thing is that really is a bummer. Mm-hmm. We knew that like freaking years ago.
Yeah.
And now we get to wait for everybody to catch up.
Yeah. It's
frustrating because we don't do anything about the information that we know, and when we know what's right, that should be shoved. I'll be nice and say down somebody's throat instead of upward motion. Down people's throats instead of letting it dissipate to maybe be brought back later after, no harm, no foul, because whatever happened. That went, even with the Hunter situation. So, there's a lot of things that are less funny as this. This here I thought was, even if you have a chance to watch the show, do, because in the background, a lot of people were always straight-faced, and so are they.
Yeah.
But there's a couple times where Cruz said a couple things that made them chuckle, because it is funny, because it's so, it's bewildering that this could exist in our America, because so many of us on each side of us would never want this to exist. Mm-hmm. We would want to be able to, no matter if our neighbor is a leftist and we are who we are, we would want to support each other for some jerk off that just, trespassed and moved into their house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for any excuse, it was too hot. Well, it was too cold. Well, I'm hungry, or it needed shelter, or it was raining. I was getting a sunburn when I was walking down the road. Any excuse to break into your house is great.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It sucks that it's humorous, but it was kind of the DeSantis, anti-DeSantis ad was odd that they were playing, and it blows me away. It's dark, but they play the freedom, all the freedom you could get, like living in America, in Florida, as it's a negative thing. You could live there like COVID doesn't exist. Dum dum dum. Are you kidding me? Can we please make that spread throughout the country, start in Oregon, please? Yeah. Uh-huh. So I don't know. It's dark, but it's humorous. Like, this is the way you're going. And then you look a little bit more, and then it gets really sad because people latch onto that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, we should be celebrating freedom. Not making it sound like it's a scary thing.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, let's wrap things up.
Why not? That's a good idea.
Thanks for watching the show. Please tell a friend. We'd love to grow the audience. Real quick shout out to Robbie at the Out of the Blank podcast.
Yeah.
He's had me on a couple of times, and still working with your schedule to get you on.
I'm a disaster, yes.
So, but he's a big supporter of the show, and we really appreciate that.
And I do appreciate him supporting. I don't get to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. You can find more information on our website
at nevertooserious.com.
And you can reach out to us via email.
Oh, mailbag at nevertooserious.com.
Yeah. Ethan's not here to support you in this thing, so I just have to throw it out. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. He never does anyways.
Let's see, what else? Social media. You can find us at the NTS Podcast on Twitter and on Gettr. And what else? Merch. Dave, you got your stuff?
I do.
Looking pretty dang sharp today.
Well, that goes without saying. But I do have my cool hoodie on that I need to wash. I've been wearing it way too much.
Yeah, I like it.
I got my
big old
t-shirt on too.
And got a big old logo sitting in the middle of your chest.
Well,
so
I got a good big platform I could put it on. So I do it on purpose. I get the best bang for the buck.
Yeah, lots of real estate up there, Dave.
I just need to get a little skinny person and have it tattooed on them, on their tummy, and then just let them eat.
Wait for them to grow.
That $60 tattoo is going to be about $2,000 piece of artwork that's going to be about that big.
And then they turn 60 and it looks like a deflated
Well,
balloon.
you know, it will have its moment to shine.
That's so funny. All right. Thanks again. Until we see you next time, take care.
And be safe.